Hello, this is Ken Ugert, Department of Education, West Virginia Department of Education. This is going to be video 14. It'll be just kind of modifying existing graphics. So a lot of times you'll see graphics that have missing points, things out of alignment, things that just bug you want to correct. And this will show you how to fix or how to do some of those things. So this is a graphic that I have intentionally messed up just so we can fix it. And first thing I want to show you is sometimes you might have a graphic that you cannot edit at all. If you look up here at the top, it's going to give you the path of where this graphic is. This one is RTU4, and it has that asterisk at the end of it. If it has an asterisk at the end of it, the design mode, which is right here, is not available to you. It's grayed out, and so you cannot do anything. It's a simple fix to do this, and I'm not sure why it locks up like that, but to fix it, to allow you to edit this graphic, go here to File, open up the file, and unlock the panel. Once you unlock the panel, the asterisk goes away. That will allow you to then edit this graphic. Okay? To make this graphic run again, you go to this lightning bolt run mode, and that starts it again. You can't see it, but it does start over. That just starts everything up. So anyway, if you got one you cannot edit and it's locked, that's the way you do that. Let's go back to this one I messed up. So there's lots of things you can see on here that's goofed up. First thing you want to do to edit a graphic, you have to go to this run mode, which is, it's like a little drafting table looking. Click on that. That puts you in the edit mode. You can see that the grid came up and some things, so you know that you are in the edit mode. First of all, you can change the whole background of the graphic. I like a high contrast background, but you can change it to whatever you like. First thing you should know before you edit graphics is that there are two types of graphics, or actually not two types, but there are graphics that if you have a whole lot of identical equipment that the contractors or the people setting your graphics up will make one graphic and use that as a template to make a bunch of other graphics. It's a template of sorts. So when they do that, they save this as a RTU or a typical file name, and it'll be the same pinpoint graphic, and that's what this program is, pinpoint. That same pinpoint graphic will be used in multiple other graphics for like RTU 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You got a bunch of graphics, bunch of rooftop units with the same identical setup, or VAV boxes with the same identical setup, or heat pumps, or equipment that is exactly the same. All they got to do is copy it from one controller to the next, and they don't have to change anything on there. It's just a template. So if you have a template and you change something on that template, it's going to change it on everything associated with that template, whether you want it to or not. If you have RTU3 like we have here, and I want to put another point on here, like for an exhaust fan that's near this rooftop unit, I can do. If you do that and it's a template, it's going to show up on every other template every other rooftop using this template. So be careful what you change, because you could be affecting more graphics than what you realize. I've done that myself a bunch of times. So to make sure that this is a unique graphic, what you really want to do first is just come over in an area, not on any object or thing. Do a right click and go to configuration. This graphic panel file is what this is using. This is a unique graphic file for this. If it were just RTU or typical RTU, you would then know that it is a template type file. You might go to another one like this and see if that file name is the same. If these two file names are the same for two graphics, it is a template. So if you change something on here, it's going to change something on the other one as well. So you be careful if you do that. What you would want to do typically is save this as a unique file, then you can change it. Okay, but we can get to that later. But for now, just knowing that you can, let's go back. To get there again, go to this, to a blank area on the screen, go to configuration, do a right click on the mouse and do a configuration, and this is the file name, and to change the background, you don't like that color, this is where you change the color. I kind of like black, and that's what I'm going to change it to, and apply. So that's going to change the black background. Say I like a high contrast background. You notice that the width and the height are a little excessive on this. You can have, let's see, push OK. You can have a graphic that has a bunch of more stuff on there that you just have to scroll to. If I do design mode, go back to run mode, sorry, and this thing loads up. You can have, if you're using the scroll bars, you can put a whole bunch more information down below there. So you got a lot of area that you can put stuff in if you like to navigate. I like to have everything on my one screen that everything's right here. I don't have to navigate. You can do, you can do the left thing too. You can do it that way. If you like that, that's one way of doing it. I like to make sure that people can't screw it up, and I'll limit the size of this thing, and you have to play with it, and it's according to your size of your monitor. If you change the canvas width to let's see, let's go to 19, see what that does. See, 19 is too little for my screen, because that black would extend over here if that were good. I'm going to use 20. At least 20 covers the whole thing. And I know that 10 covers the whole thing here. If you did 9, I think it's too little. But you play with those numbers and see what you can get, because the file size gets big or small depending on that. So then you got the scroll bar still taking up a little bit of the space, and I like to have all my space available. And if you leave the scroll bars on there, people can still move these around and get them kind of out of alignment. So I usually like to disable the scroll bars, uncheck that box and push apply. That gives you a little more area, a little more field of view for you to do things. So there's a couple things you can do. That's basically all I'll do on here. One thing that's kind of helpful just to check is go to this object list, and sometimes you can see that there's some crazy things on here that this tells you where all these points are that are on here. And I do have some reheat coils and things from other controllers, but if I came down here and I saw an RTU 5 or 6, something that's not RTU 3, I could see that I would suspect that I've got the wrong point assigned to this graphic. But if you just scroll down through here real quick, see I got RTU 4 snow day. I'll have to check that. So that's one way of looking at some things. If you go back to run mode, I need to show you this too. All of these values have, see this little yellow box comes up below the cursor? It only comes up there for a minute, but it identifies what that point represents. This one represents, it'll come up here, RTU3 damper. Read the last two things on there. RTU3 damper. This is RTU3 set point. You'll have, if there's nothing assigned to it, it'll say no object attached. That means it doesn't know what you want it to be. So any point on here, see this is an external point. It comes from the pumps controller. So where's that snow day? Let's see if snow day. See that's comes from RTU4. So I'll change that. So that allows you to make sure that you know just at a glance what these points are coming from or what their names are. Even the little LCD things you can look at. The boxes, the schedules, the push buttons. That's going to tell you what it's going to do. That's going to open this class schedule. This is going to tell you which button, what it's going to open up next. That's going to be RTU 2B, which is before this. This one should be RTU4, the one after this. This will take you to a floor plan, the academic zone floor plan. And this will take you to the temperature history. So those are kind of helpful. Let's go back to the design mode. Alright, we're back to the design mode. If you see things that are misspelled, text, that is an easy correction. These things are text. They're just letters. They don't change. They don't do anything. These things are your points, and these are just the graphic details. To change a text, how it's worded, how it's spelled, you just double click on it, and it brings up this box. It'll put a box around it, and it'll bring up a properties box. Don't change this name because that's not what you want to do. Go to the text tab, and that's where you will correct the spelling. Still didn't spell right. Condense. There's a little delay on the on this thing today. Can you see it? Condenser. Spell it. Valve. Once you spelled it correctly, it'll come up and be that way. There are some things that you can do there. Do it. Right click again, or double left click. You can change what it says. You can change some lines if you want to put a line under it. Kind of things if you want to do that. You can change, you can fill it, they come defaulted to transparent. But you can try these things and cancel it if you don't like it. What I usually use most is the font. If I want to change if it's bolded or the size of the lettering or the color of the lettering, that's where I would do this. Position and size, it just tells you where it is. I don't know what the purpose of it is. But basically what I use most is text and font. And if you want to put a box around it, you use line. If you want to have a box with a different color in it, you use fill. And if you want to underline it, strike it out. I don't know why you do it, but that's what you would do. So that's kind of like your word processing things, how that will look. Okay, so if something's not spelled correctly, that's one way to do that. You can move these things if they're out of alignment. You can click on them, or left click with your mouse, and you can, with your arrow keys, you can move them left, right, up, down, however you want to do it. You can move them just all the way over, or however you want. If you screw something up, you can press, you can go here to undo, which will take it back, or if you know your keyboard commands, which is, you can push a Control Z, which is undo. Alright, Control Z is your friend. So if these are not in alignment, and they're not, you can align them. You can go back to each one of these and sight do them if you like. But there are some toolbars on here that are pretty useful. To go to those, you go to this view, toolbars. I use alignment a lot. This allows you to, if you want to align things, make them in horizontal or vertical positions, you would highlight what you want to align, and if you want to do multiple ones, push the shift down and click with your mouse, left click with your mouse, and hold those down. So now you got three things that you want to learn to align in a vertical mode. So you go up here, if you want to align them in align the centers of these things up, push that, and it will line them up by their middle position. That line them center. What you have to figure out is that the last one that you click is the one it's going to align to. and that's on all these. So if I were to click this one, and this one, and the top one, because I selected the top one last, that's what this is going to align to. That's not what I want. I want these to be aligned to this one. So if you want to deselect it, push the shift down and do a left click with your mouse. So now it will be aligned to the last one I clicked, which is this one. And they will all go to that. Alright? So they're aligned vertically. If you've got something else you want it to align to, that wouldn't be very good in a vertical alignment, just because they're different sizes. If you want to align their left edge or right edge, we'll do the left edge in this case. That's one way of doing it. See, all the left edges are the same. And because these are centered, you can see that these are centered in their block. There's a way to left or right justify these. You do that and do a right click and do a display, and go to the text. Here's where you would align these horizontally, left or right. I want these to be left horizontally aligned. So they should go to the left side of their box. Now if I align all these things, you can singularly select all these, or you can draw a box around them. Let me show you how to draw a box around them. If you push your left mouse key down and drag this box around them, all that you want, you have to include everything in there, the size of their boxes. You can go over some boxes. So now you've selected all those. Now, if you want to align those to the left, that's what you would do. Alright, so now they're all aligned in that manner. Now I want to align them with this horizontally. So I want this value aligned with this value. So I'll come up here to this horizontal alignment, and it will go there. And this one, let's see if that one's aligned. We'll align that one with that. We will align this one. My internet is slow today. With this one, that just makes everything neat and orderly. Okay? There's some ways of how to align things. Like I say, you can select a bunch of things. Let's see if there's anything on here. You select all these. And you can, well, they're not all aligned. Let's line them up to the center. We'll make them all center. So there they are. If you got values that aren't shown up fully, you can make their boxes bigger so that they show up. Sometimes your units take up a lot of space. So you realign that one with that. There you go. Okay. So those are vertical alignments. Now, a lot of times you'll have a list like this, and these are all unidistant apart. And if you just hand putting these on here, they won't do that. And you can sit here and move them up and down if you like. But there's another toolbar on here, the other one that I like to use a lot. Go up here to View, Toolbars, and Layout. And that puts this toolbar up here. What this does, what this will allow you to do, push Control Z. What this will allow you to do, I want all these to be equally spaced apart. So this is my top, this is my bottom. If it's not where you want these, move the top and the bottom to where you want them. Then select everything that you want to be in that list in equidistant. Then you'll come up here and select this, space down. What that's going to do is equal space all of those things. Pretty neat. I like that function. You can then do the same thing. You can line these up, line this value up with this. I'm pushing the wrong button. Line this value up with this, align it in the center, align this value up with this line, and I moved it. Okay. Now, if I select all these values and push this space up and down, it should move these equally spaced the same as the others. Give it time, he's thinking about it, I guess. There it is. Okay, so there that is. So now they look a little better. The other thing I like to do sometimes is you'll notice that these are different sizes. Moved it, push Control Z. Control Z is your friend. You see that most of these are this size. And I want all of my boxes to be the same size. Sometimes it makes it nice. But you can make all of them the same width or the same height by selecting those, and the last one you select, and you select this box, it will make them all the same width or height. In this case, it shortened this one up. Now if I push align middle, it'll align it up. Okay? And there you go. A lot of times you will have points that have this question mark. What this means is it doesn't know what point you are wanting to be there. It's assigned to do something. It's there, but it's just doesn't know what point you want. This one, if you double click on it, double left click, it'll bring up a box, properties or text box. This tells you what that point is representing. This is my network, this is my net controller, this is my infinite name, and this is the point. This is set point adjustment, and it is the value. Okay, so that is what this is. If I go to this one, it's going to come up blank. It doesn't know what you want. So you have to assign it. You have to figure out what it's supposed to be. To pick a point, You can type it in there, which I don't recommend because there's a lot of errors you can make. And if you make an error and you say OK, and it's just going to come up blank. But typically it's going to come up to a place where this one came up pretty easy. Typically it's going to come up, it just doesn't know where you want to go. This one's going to be on the network of that school. This is high school. You kind of have to drill down to where this controller point is. So I know it is RTU3. Okay. RTU3. Here is where you would select those things. If it doesn't know that it's an input or an output or whatever, if you want to change the type, you would come here. Here's all your selection. If you're just working with infinity stuff, you want to make sure that you pick one of these infinity input, numeric, or outputs. And up top here, they have binary inputs, analog inputs, analog outputs. Those are for BACnet stuff. You don't, unless you have BACnet and you know how that stuff works, which it may apply in your instance. I'm not saying it doesn't, but for a native network for Andover, you will have to come down here to these infinity points. This one's going to be an input. Is that right? And it's going to be room temperature. Double click that, it assigns it there. There you go. If I went to run now, that point would now show up. Okay. So that's another correction. Some other things that I've messed up on here is if you have something that is hiding another thing, you can move them to the foreground or the background. You highlight it and do a right click with your mouse, and you can do the order. You can say bring it to the front. You can say send it to the back. If you have multiple layers, you can bring it one step forward or one step backwards. Typically you only have one step. But anyway, that's when I put that there, I send it to the back, and now my damper shows up. Let's see. Now if you got certain parts that have moved, you can highlight those, you can click on it, and with your arrows you can move left, right, up or down. Okay, you kind of visually see where they are, stop when it's close. It's not perfect, but it works. So there you go for that. Let's see what else. Like I say, you have points, you have buttons on here that you can assign. That this one will, like I say, it'll take you to a panel. It'll take you to RTU4, which is the next unit in line. If you want that, if you want graphics, you will choose a panel. You have choices if you want to do something else. If you want to open up a schedule or things of that nature, you would choose an object. But if you're looking for more other graphics, you will say open a panel. This panel will be whatever graphic you choose thereafter. Okay. So open up a panel, and then what you'll do, well, I goofed it up, didn't I? So I'll open up a panel, and I want to go to RTU4. So I gotta find what we did RTU4. But if you wanted a different panel, you would go to this little box here, and you would navigate. See, it's already saying I want the types of object type is going to be graphics. So an RTU2B, that's my graphic. If I went to another controller and it has graphics in it, I could get, well, that one doesn't have any graphics in it. Let's go to RTU12. You gotta select it. Navigate to where it is, select it, and push OK. There are other things you can do, like if I want to open up a graphics history from a button, it says open up an object, not a panel. So if I change that to panel, it means I want to go to a graphic. If I open up an object, it's going to allow me to open up anything here. If I had a schedule, or if I had something that's not a graphics panel, you can select that. So that's how you would edit those. You can change these, what they say, by selecting those. Left click on your arrow on your mouse, and do a right click and do the display things. Display properties is going to allow you to change how it looks. So if I want to change that to the words on that, I can change that. Okay? That's not what I want to do. That's how you do it. You cannot change the color of those buttons. You can change the size of them, but you can't change the font size or anything else. So there's not a whole lot you can do with that other than assign it what you want it to do and what the text is on there. Push Control Z and it'll go back. So you run all that. That updates your graphic and what you're doing. See what else is not right here. There's a couple cool things that you can do that usually people don't take advantage of. If you'll see, I didn't do that one. You can, if you want to, see these colors here, red and green. You can assign these to turn this color if they're disabled. Typically, nobody uses these, but if you want to look, if you need a visual indication that a point is disabled or not, let's save this one. See, I have not enabled it to do. I just told it I want this color to be blue. If I want to use this object state, what I want to do is I'm going to pick a color. I can keep that same color, or I can turn. Let's do yellow just to show you what. If it's enabled, that will be yellow. If it is disabled, it will be. We'll say. Let's say whatever color that is. Okay. So now. If you have graphics that people mess with all the time and disable things, this is a quick visual indication that you don't have to go back into the list views to see what is disabled, what is not disabled. I know if you keep this consistent, if these were all yellow enabled, I know that that is an enabled point. If I were to disable it right here, like through Explorer or this through the graphics, it's going to turn that other color. That's pretty neat. I like that feature. That way I know if I come in here something's not working right and it's that color, somebody has disabled it. And you can go through and do all these values that same way. You can keep your same color system that you want to. Double click, left click, and those are usually, I guess, this color. And I'll turn it red. I usually turn them red if they're disabled. So, normally, they're going to be this whatever color you want it to be. If it's disabled, it'll be red. If I re-enable it, it'll go back to normal color. It's pretty neat. I like that. You have, if you want to put the controller name, that's a pretty handy thing to have on some of these. This is the actual controller name. How you do that is if I wanted to be, if I were to assign this to be RTU6, you would assign it infinity type, which or object type, which you're wanting some information about the controller itself, and you would want the name of the controller right there. So now that would display whatever this is right here. If I were to change that to cat or dog, that's what that would read right there. That is the name of the controller. But I want it to be RTU3, so I want to change it back. And it's reflective of the Infinity controller. I don't want the COM status. I want the name. And I want RTU3. Yeah, keeps changing that. RTU3 and name. And select. And that will put that will assign that point as the name of the controller. Same thing below there. It is the description of RTU3. If I were to edit RTU3, when you set up an Infinity controller, it asks for a description. You put one in there, or you cannot, or you don't have to. If you want to let people know where this is, what it serves, what its purpose is, put a description there. And if you want to display it on a graphic, push cancel. Close. Terribly slow internet. Terribly slow. So here we are, RTU3. I don't want the COM status. We're looking at the Infinity controller itself. Here it brings up a bunch of stuff that you can put in there about that Infinity controller. I want the description. That tells me what somebody has put in that field. Okay, so there you go with that. If you want to know whether that controller is online or not, or if you want to display on a graphic a bunch of these, you can put the COM status of those. It's the same thing. You go back, you pick the controller that you want. Make sure this reads Infinite controller. And I do want to look at the COM status. That's the first thing in the list. This just happens to be first. And you push well, and that's what we'll bring up. So there's one thing. What else is on here? What else? There are times that you have, like these don't have the units beside them. You got to know what the units are on some of these things, because you just need somebody else might need to know it. But if you click on there, if you want the units or don't want the units, it's up to you really. Check this box here, and if you assign a unit to this point, it will come up. It won't come up. Well, it will come up. If you go back to run, that should go back to 68 degree Fahrenheit, or 60 whatever. But now it has the units to it. If you don't want the units to it, deselect that box, and that's what will happen. You have animated points on here. Let's look at this damper. This tells you what it is assigned to. It is, well, it's actually, this is a pulse width damper, so this is a numeric value. But anyway, you have 4 different pictures that you can look at just to determine at 0 to 25 I'm this picture, at 50% open I'm this picture, at 75% I'm this picture, at between 75 and 100, I'm in this picture. And you can preview those. That just shows you what's going to happen. Do that again. Close, 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 close. Okay, and you pick those if you want to change how those are or where those are. You would. They're in your library. How do you get there? There's usually a little box over here at the very edge that you can get to. For some reason you can't get to it. I'll show you a different one. Cancel, cancel. It has something to do with the internet speed today for some reason. This is just like a little LED thing. It just shows you it's on and off. If you want it to be off and on, you can change the position of these things by using your arrows. These are kind of things you just got to play with. I don't know why that won't show you. Usually it gives you a selection box that'll take you back to a bunch of pictures that you can choose from. So there that is. Let's see what else have I goofed up here. This is just a box, just like the others. It's going to open up open up an object, which is going to be the classroom schedule. So that was back in the mainnet controller. See how it says schedule? You have to change the type of thing. If I wanted to open up a history, I would go to group. If I wanted to open up a list view, I could go to list view. In this case, I want to open up a schedule. And in this case, for this particular thing, I want to open up the classroom schedule. So I know that's what controls that unit. So there's a lot of things you can do with these. It's easy to play with. You're not really affecting the programming when you're working with this stuff. Move things around, align them, make them look pretty. But that's some things how you do that. And when you're done, you go to run mode. Everything will take off. That will show you that if you have any question mark values, that means it didn't take. And go back and re-edit it. But that concludes this video. If you have any issues, questions, let me know. Like I say, it's just a matter of playing with it. Make sure you're not changing a template. If I had a bunch of these and I'd changed all this stuff, it would have changed all those template values. But if this is a unique graphic, and I know that it is, this is the only one I'm changing. Alright? So let me know what you think. Again, Ken Uger, Department of Education, West Virginia. And I'll try to, we'll do another graphic here about starting from scratch, which it's a lot harder than just modifying an existing graphic. All right. Thanks a lot. Bye.